Some people are scared of spiders, others, it's snakes. But if you're a Porsche 911 diehard, the thing that strikes fear into your heart is the very thought of the German brand electrifying the rear-engine sports car. Well, guess what? This is the 911 GTS T-Hybrid. So let's clear some things up first. This is not an all-new 911 beside me. This is in fact a facelift. So this is the 992.2 series 911. And the other important thing to note is Porsche hasn't electrified the entire lineup, just the GTS. So this will be sold alongside an updated version of the Carrera, eventually the Carrera T that will come with a manual, and of course the GT3, GT3 Touring, and the Turbo and Turbo S. In fact, both the Turbo and Turbo S will get the hybrid treatment, but that's coming later. So it's worth mentioning the Turbo S because I'm going to refer to that car quite frequently in this video because, believe it or not, engineers say the GTS T-Hybrid is now as quick as its old flagship Turbo S, well, at least in a straight line. So I think from the look of it, you can probably tell that Porsche has very much positioned the GTS model to be a lot sportier than before, and that's why it gets its distinct own look, including these really quite cool active aerodynamic vents here. And they actually shut at speeds of over 50 kilometers per hour, and they reduce the drag coefficient from 0.32 to 0.27. That's for the nerds out there. But that's not the only active aero on the car. Of course, you've got the rear wing at the back, but lurking beneath these arches here are another pair of flaps on either side of the car, and they're important because they help balance the aero and reduce the lift over the front axle, and on a rainy day they also help dry the brakes, which is nice. Other things worth mentioning is the GTS of course comes with the center lock alloy wheels, which are ultra cool and they're new for this model, but it also comes with carbon ceramic brakes that are lifted from the Turbo S, except they aren't at the rear axle because they're even bigger. These are 410mm rotors. They're absolutely massive, and that's because there's been a bit of a weight increase. Another thing worth mentioning is the rear bonnet lid has been reprofiled. It has a new LED rear tail lamp that looks really cool when it's lit up and sort of makes the car look wider. And check out this, it has some centrally mounted twin pipes that make it look a little bit like a GT3. So at the business end, there's been some dramatic changes. Porsche being Porsche could have just electrified one of the existing engines, but instead it started from scratch. So lurking under there is an all new 3.6 litre flat six combustion engine, and it is combined with an all new 8-speed dual clutch transmission. But the beauty about the T-Hybrid system is it also has an e-turbo, and that e-turbo alone can add up to 65 kilowatts of boost. Now within the transmission is another electric motor that can boost around 55 kilowatts and 150 Newton meters of torque. The best bit is combined, the total output of this engine is 398 kilowatts and 610 Newton meters of torque. But it's the turbo that gets all the attention. It is absolutely massive. It looks like it's been lifted off a Kenworth truck. Other things you should know about the little electric turbocharger is it claws back an amazing amount of energy for such a small device, up to 11 kilowatts, even when you're traveling at 312 kilometers per hour, which is the GTS's top speed. What the GTS T-Hybrid doesn't have is a pure electric range, but what it does is plenty of performance. How does 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3 seconds sound, or 0 to 200 in just 10.5 seconds? But why am I talking about all of this when there's a beautiful track over there? I think it's time we take the new GTS for a ride. Now let's have a quick recap. The 911 T-Hybrid is only available at the moment in the GTS version I'm driving here. Now, the combustion engine is a 3.6 litre flat 6, and alone that produces 357 kilowatts and 570 newton meters of torque. Now, bolted onto the side of the all-new engine is an e-turbo, and that has a small electric motor that rapidly spins it up to ensure it's always on boost. Now, that little unit can boost around 65 kilowatts, but probably the most important part of the T-Hybrid is a second e-motor that is encased within the 8-speed dual clutch transmission. Now, that one produces 55 kilowatts and 150 newton meters of torque, and that means combined the 911 GTS now pumps out a whopping 398 kilowatts and 600 newton meters of torque, and that provides for 911 Turbo S levels of acceleration. Porsche claims that this car will do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.0 seconds, and 0 to 200 in just 10.5 seconds. Now, believe it or not, behind the wheel of the new GTS, the T-Hybrid powertrain, well, feels even quicker than its performance figures. And that's because the clever hybrid gets onto boost and delivers maximum power in just 0.8 of a second. This does not feel like a car with a whopping turbocharger, not at all. Handily, we've also driven the new 911 T-Hybrid GTS beside the revised Carrera 2. And it was a fascinating comparison because not only do you have this instant whack of torque, the car is also a lot more nimble. And that's because it has rear wheel steer as standard. And it really does a good job of just dialing out just the faintest sniff of understeer you get when you're pushing hard. The GTS also now comes with carbon ceramic brakes, and they just offer so much reassurance, even on a tight twisty track here. I mean, why would you ever want a Turbo S? Because this offers you, well, serious amounts of acceleration. In fact, this does start feeling like it's a proper Porsche GT car. See, there was really nothing to fear about Porsche hybridizing the 911 because this GTS is as compelling as ever. But is it the choice of the facelifted 911 range? Well, earlier we drove this car back to back with the cheaper, less powerful Carrera, and that car actually had sweeter steering and a better ride. But who are we kidding? How can you resist the level of performance this car delivers? But it does come at a high price. In Australia, when it arrives in Q4 of 2024, the new GTS T-Hybrid will cost $360,000, which is about the same as the last car. But just remember, this car now delivers Turbo S levels of performance, and that must make it a bit of a bargain, right?